The death of 3-year-old Miles Hill in a scorching hot daycare van has detectives building a case against the van driver. Deborah Denise St. Charles has a pretrial hearing next week, but today WESH News obtained key evidence that will be used against her in court. WESH News investigative reporter Greg Fox talks with Miles's family about this disturbing new evidence.
You hear that?
Yeah. Corey Esters was visibly shaken after we showed him the police video released by the state attorney's office. It shows detectives going through the daycare center van where Corey's 3-year-old grandson, Miles Hill, died in the August heat. He had been there nearly 12 hours before anyone realized he never got off the van driven by Deborah St. Charles. She's charged in Miles' death, and this police video is part of the evidence against her.
It does take force. Even unlocked, as you can hear the hinges.
Rusting doors, broken locks, and door handles.
It's recessed in.
Impossible for Miles to have escaped, and something that makes his grandfather think the daycare owner and the State Department of Children and Families are also to blame for the toddler's death.
I'm talking about transporting somebody's child back and forth to school, and this is the condition in which they let them operate. This is ridiculous.
Other evidence released by the state attorney include pictures of the inside of the van where Miles was found in the third-row seat, a logbook showing he was routinely picked up at his grandmother's house, and a thermometer showing the van reaching 144 degrees in the midday sun. In a handwritten police statement, St. Charles wrote this about dropping off kids that morning, quote, "I did not see no kids on the van. When I picked up Miles, he was sitting in the back left." The owner of this daycare has repeatedly declined interviews. The state is working to permanently revoke the license here, and the family of Miles Hill is suing the owner. In Orlando, Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
DCF sent this reply to our inquiry about what role the state plays in the condition of daycare vehicles. All vehicles regularly used to transport children must be inspected annually by a mechanic to ensure that they are in proper working order. Documentation by the mechanic must be maintained in the vehicle. What DCF has not said is if such a mechanic's report was ever verified by an agency inspector.
Tonight, WESH 2 investigates vehicles used at local daycares in the wake of a little boy's death.
3-year-old Miles Hill died in a scorching hot minivan in the parking lot of Little Miracles Academy in Orlando. WESH 2 investigates reporter Greg Fox exposes what safety experts call a flaw in the way Florida regulates vehicle safety that could put your kids at risk.
In a locked position, I cannot exit the vehicle.
WESH 2 investigates obtained this video from the state attorney showing detectives examining the daycare van in which Miles Hill died. Stuck or broken door locks, rusty sliding doors on both sides, and a broken outside door handle.
He is essentially locked inside and unable to exit.
Hearing that troubles Rafael Rodriguez, a mechanic who has worked on Little Miracles daycare vans but was never asked to inspect the van in which Miles died.
Do you recall the owner ever asking you to look at anything like door handles or locks or sliding doors?
No, sir, I don't.
He has inspected other Little Miracles vans, filling out the form required by the Florida Department of Children and Families. Headlights, parking lights, tail lights, all working. But you can see there are more than a dozen items that apply only to buses, like emergency doors and exits. Nothing on this checklist addresses whether doors, locks, and handles work.
Yeah, they should be operable doors that can be opened from the inside and outside, of course.
One big question, could Miles, who was nearly 4 years old, have gotten out of the van on his own if the doors, door handles, and locks were operating properly? This is a typical minivan, about the same age as most of the vehicles at Little Miracles. Could kids about Miles' age get out? Who knows how to get out of your mom and dad's car?
I know.
Meet preschoolers Abigail, Larkin, and Javen. We lock Larkin inside first. She unlocks the back door, but isn't strong enough to slide it. The front door, no problem.
It's really hard.
You can do it, right? All right. Javen goes for the other sliding door.
Oh, look at that! Look at that, give me 5!
Abigail tried several doors, giving up on the slider, then to the front. She's frustrated at first, then escapes.
There you go.
I mean, that's dangerous for an adult, let alone a little kid.
Glenn Victor of the Florida Safety Council was stunned when he saw the police video. He says the state should immediately rewrite its inspection forms to require all doors, locks, and handles to work to prevent kids from being trapped.
We're just saying, look at this horrible tragedy that happened that could be prevented, and encouraging those daycare centers in whatever way it may be to say, if you're transporting kids in these vehicles, you need to do this, this, and this.
Declining an on-camera interview, DCF provided this statement. DCF relies on the expertise of a mechanic's certification that a vehicle is in good working order and safe to transport children.
That one didn't work.
Until inspection requirements change, experts say it's up to parents to check the condition of vehicles carrying their precious cargo. Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
Little Miracle's owner Audrey Thornton has not returned. WESH 2 investigates calls for comment. The state is moving to revoke the daycare's license. The daycare center's driver, Deborah Denise St. Charles, is facing trial for manslaughter. It was the story that shocked every parent of a preschooler, the death of 3-year-old Miles Hill.
He was left alone in the daycare van in the August heat. The driver, Deborah Denise St. Charles, is facing a trial. But what about the safety of other children, perhaps your preschooler? In a special report, WESH 2's Greg Fox talks with Miles' family as they lobby for changes that could prevent a similar tragedy.
There's no way you can comfort a mother that don't lost a child.
Corey Esters and his family are heartbroken over the loss of his grandson, Miles Hill, who lost his life in a scorching hot daycare van. Now his family wants justice for Miles and is fighting for a bill that would demand warning systems in daycare vehicles statewide.
I hope this bill will save a life. Stop another child, or mother, grandfather, grandmother, family members from going through this.
Is it on?
Star Child Academy in Apopka already follows state rules, logging names as kids get on and off. But there's more. These kids probably don't even know it, but right here on their daycare vehicle is an alarm system. You can see the switch right above my head, and it's intended to make sure that they don't get left behind. It's automatically activated when the driver gets going, and after unloading the last child, the driver must check for kids who may not have gotten off.
Right, I will look, especially back here. We have a little hiding spot back here.
If he doesn't get to this button within 60 seconds, the horn and headlights remind the driver to go back and look for kids. WESH 2 News investigated and found the typical price to buy and install alarms to be roughly $500.
I look at a child's life, and you really can't put a price on that.
The Child Safety Alarm Act would require daycare vehicle alarms by January 2019. It would set minimum standards for reliability of those alarms and maintain a list of approved manufacturers.
I believe
local lawmakers Linda Stewart and Bruce Antone are sponsoring the bills.
This bill just mandates the use of technology to make sure that no child is left behind.
And to sit and do nothing is not the way we need to go. We've got to bite the bullet and start putting our kids' safety first.
An effort too late to save Miles, but just maybe one that will prevent another death in a daycare vehicle.
You know, if you can save another child's life, job is done.
Greg Fox, WESH 2 News.
Palm Beach and Broward counties already require safety alarms on daycare vehicles and have a list of vendors already approved by the state. Meantime, an insurance company has filed a lawsuit asking a judge to decide whether it must pay a settlement. The company claims that its policy denies coverage for claims involving a vehicle.